Good afternoon, folks. Home Handyman here. We had a discussion on the forum about sockets, and I told him, well, I bought mine up at O'Reilly's. I bought the Duralast and the 6-point set. And in the forum they said, well, you know, there's also 12 points. And I said, yeah, there is. I just prefer the 6-point, and you know, we'll have a discussion about it. So I wanted to bring up some of the points that we made. But first I want to pan down. I want to show you what both look like, and then I'll have a quick discussion on both. Hold on one moment. Okay, here you see the 6-point, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 12-point, and you can see how it's got like this star pattern all the way around it. That's the difference. 6-point, 12-point. Now I'm going to go back. I got a dry erase board at one of these garage sales and figured I'd save it for a day when I could use it, and this seemed like a good time to use it. So I'm going to use a dry erase board and talk to you about some thoughts that I have between the 6 and the 12 point. Okay, on a 6-point socket like we have here, when you put that bolt in, where it comes up against the sides of this, the points of contact are here. The weakest points are going to be right here where I drew those dots, or let's look at it another way. Here are your weakest points. So your socket comes up, and depending on its tolerance and how it was manufactured, we'll talk about that in a minute, it seats around here. It gives you a pretty damn good secure hold. So this is really good when you have rusted or frozen up bolts where you're trying to take them off and you can't, and you have to get a leverage bar on there and really put a lot of force. That's where your 6 points really have an advantage. They're good for that. Now, let's talk about the 12 point real quick. What happens with that 12 point, okay, is this. You end up where your contact points are here, here, they're doubled. So you have twice as many contact points. I put a little chart down here. Let's take a look at the points on it for a minute. Your contact points are doubled, that's true. So therefore it's going to increase the smashing of those points, those weak points that we showed you here, when you have a 12 point and the bolts in there. So you have more chance of it slipping and stripping those edges than anything else. And I saw somebody on YouTube that was actually using the deep weld ones on an impact wrench, an air impact. Oh, that's really risky. You can really break those sockets real easily. The 12 points really aren't meant to be put on impact drivers. If you need something that heavy duty, you want to come back around here to your 6 point, okay, where you have less points of contact and a bigger area of contact than you do here on those 12 points. Okay, the other thing is, what are the 12 points good for then? Well, if you're not a mechanic and you're just like handyman like me, I've got some 12 points. I'm not going to sit and tell you I don't. I got a whole bunch of them, but I also have more 6 points than I do the 12s. 12s, just look at them as you have much easier chance of stripping your bolt heads and ruining the bolt, and then you're going to have to revert to an extractor, heat, weld something on, try to get that bolt out, all because maybe you used the wrong size socket to begin with. So my opinion in brief is, when I went and bought my socket set, I made sure that they were 6 point. I personally don't have a use for 12 point sockets. I try to avoid them, and if I'm buying any sockets, unless there's a specific reason, I get the 6 point contact. I think they're just better all the way around. That's my opinion on it. And again, I'll give you another shot here of what the 12 and the 6 point look like before we wrap this up. Now, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there where somebody's going to tell you I'm full of crap and, you know, 12 points are better and all this other stuff. I don't think they are. So again, here's a 12 point. Think about the bolt being in there and you'll understand that bolt, the weakest point of that bolt is here, here, here. You have doubled the amount of points where this thing can strip when you apply that kind of force and torque behind it, and you will. It'll be a lot easier and it's more effective if you use the 6 points where you don't have that doubled amount of contact area, and you can get a better hold on it. Okay, now the point came around to this. One moment, let me pan back. So coming back around to the point of the discussion is you have, Harbor Freight sells Pittsburgh, there's Duralast, there's Craftsman, there's Snap-on, there's Cornwall. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And you can drop them into these categories from, very poor, poor, good, very good, excellent. And so what's the difference is here? Well, the difference is some of these are very cheaply manufactured and their tolerances, like when you put a bolt into that socket, are very sloppy. So will they function for you? Well, it depends on what you're doing at home, but if you're an auto mechanic, a technician, or you're somebody where it really matters, you want better quality because the tolerances are tighter, their quality control departments see to it that these dies, when they're made, are held to a very tight tolerance, and when they start to gradually fall out of tolerance, new dies are made. And the cheaper manufacturers don't do that. They just use the dies on and on and on and on, and they don't care about those tolerances so much. That's the reason why you pay a lot more for Snap-on tools and Matco, Cornwall, and some of the others is because their quality control standards are much higher. So I think the way that I looked at it is I took a look at those tolerances when I bought the Duralast because they had nuts and bolts up at the auto supply store. I dropped them in there and played around, and the tolerances are pretty tight. They're pretty damn good. I didn't need the best of the best. I just wanted something that wasn't in that category of very poor or poor, because nothing's more frustrating. You come home with a brand new set of tools and here they are stripping out your bolts and you've got these big sloppy tolerances and stuff. So it's something to keep in mind when you go buy sockets. I'm going to get a lot of flack and comments on people that own 12 points, and they're probably going to be pissed off that I criticize them. I wouldn't buy them, okay? If I had to go out and buy sockets, I would buy 6 point. I think 12 points not worth buying, and I already showed you the reasons why, because if you take a real close look, you get good quality tolerance, 6 points, and they're made out of good steel. See, steel's cheap. The reason why you pay so much for these tools is because of the quality and the tolerances. Anyway, in conclusion, I made sure I spent the other $20, $30, $40 and I bought a damn good quality set. It's up to you, buy what you want, but think about it next time you go buy sockets. Take a bolt, they have them laying around, drop them in that socket, play around with it, and you'll see the difference in what I'm saying. You have very sloppy, loose tolerances in some of them, and in other ones you don't. They fit very, very well. That's what you're paying for, is the quality control, the new molds that it takes, everything else. Like I said, steel's cheap. Okay, those are just my thoughts. You folks have a good day. Home Handyman thanking you, and hit subscribe. Thank you. Bye-bye.